Hey, what's up, everybody? GMGA, GNG, whatever, wherever you are. Thanks for tuning in to the live stream. Another MetaMask prediction markets live stream, and here today with Bag Calls, leading poly market trader. What's up, Bag Calls?
How's it going, boss?
It's going pretty good. Pretty interesting week for the markets for a lot of reasons. A lot of things have not having to do with sports, but we're not going to get into that right now. But if you're into sports, the thing this week and early next week is definitely the NCAA Final Four, men's and women's. We're going to be talking about some of those markets a little bit later on, but first, I want to pull up your Polymarket profile here. So it is on Polymarket your Cassius Winston, which is a
I
pretty
am.
it's a deep cut basketball reference. I think is that Michigan?
Yes, I believe it was Michigan State.
Michigan State. Okay, all right. So tell me a little bit about this handle. Why Cassius Winston for the folks that aren't very
So,
informed, like me, clearly.
so when I started using Polymarket, I didn't want it to relate to backcalls because backcalls in itself has been my identity for 6 years. I've been primarily known for a lot of memes, meme coins, shit coins, and overall trading. I was one of the first people to call and hold Pepe coin. I was one of the first people to call Floki, and so I've basically created this identity that was very involved with, small lower market cap memes and stuff like that. I've really been in the trenches for a very very long time, and so when I started using Polymarket, it gave me a very big throwback to my days as I was growing up and watching crypto become what it's become, with Web3 and all of that. When I was just a young buck, I was, doing a lot of esports betting, doing a lot of betting overall. And I wanted to keep those identities separate until I was ready to show people what I was capable of. So once I got enough volume and P&L under my belt where I could be like, oh, surprise, this is me. And so that's how the Cassius Winston alter ego kind of came out, was that it was just like, hey, I'm going to throw this random reference to, a Michigan State ball player from way back when as my alter ego. And then when the time is right, I'm going to put my own profile picture and connect it with my ex and be like, oh, surprise, I've actually been doing Polymarket this whole time. You guys should check it out as well. So I wanted to put, before I just shielded randomly, I wanted to really put the meat behind the potatoes, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of be like, hey, check me out. You guys can see now that I'm not just some guy that just started. I have some sort of backing and I have a lot of history. As you can see, almost 3,300 predictions, bets, wagers, whatever you want to call them, over the last 8 months, and it's been really great. I wish I started earlier. I think that Polymarket is probably one of the best, if not the best, on-chain tools ever. Obviously, it's not perfect, but there are a lot of things, that are not perfect on-chain that are going to get a chance to be worked with, and um, it has been a crazy, crazy turn of events because I have had, like, my December was miserable, and then my January was incredibly profitable, and then my February was miserable, and now my March is doing pretty good.
Yeah,
So
it's looking pretty good.
yeah,
So
it's not bad.
I mean, so it's interesting. You're kind of like the perfect example of like what we're seeing going on a lot right now, kind of the merging of the two worlds of like crypto and sports and prediction markets. And like it's like the worlds are coming together. And so like, yeah, we can see here on screen, you've got 3,200 predictions, biggest single win, 22,000, up 52,000 in the past week. Not bad. So like, tell me a little bit more about who you are as a trader. We can see like there's quite a bit of sports. You've been doing a lot of golf here, it looks like. But tell me a little
Yes.
bit more about maybe your overall strategy on Polymarket.
Yes, yes. So actually, if you hit closed in the tab right there, if you see where it says active, you hit closed, you can actually see my biggest wins.
Yeah, yeah.
And that'll give you my biggest wins. As you can see, most of it is going to be esports, and most of it is going to be esports where I find edge. I've been a big esports fan for a long time. My history goes back to being one of the first 20 people to try League of Legends. I grew up with the creators and that worked with Riot, and then I also have been playing Counter Strike since 1.2. So I was really, really big, deep into esports for a long time, and this was way before crypto. So I was like, damn, like this really applies to me. And then with Polymarket, my biggest my the best way to put it is like it gives me a chance to be a plus EV better without and just letting the cards fall as they may, right? So if you compare book odds with lines where Vegas lines or Pinnacle lines, whatnot, where you are getting so much edge on Polymarket if you find the right lines, and if those lines go your way, you're gonna have a really great time. If those lines don't go your way, you're gonna be suffering. But overall, long term, if you are aiming at plus EV betting, then over thousands and thousands of bets, you should come out ahead. So basically, that is my favorite way of using Polymarket is getting a chance to utilize it to find edges in sports, creating value for myself on the positions I take. Most of the positions I take are not emotional, or they're involved with some sort of a betting or a feel. It's mostly just, hey, I have good value on this team, I'm going to take it. Like my biggest win, for example, is a random women's tennis win, right? And that was an 18-cent win. um, I was watching it when basically they were expecting this this competitor to absolutely destroy. I don't think it's going to pull up. This market was like 3 months ago, but they were expecting this female competitor to absolutely destroy the other one, and the odds went from like 50-50 to like down all the way to 18 cents. So I just created so much value for me that it ended up being a very large position. And the more value I get, the larger position I'm going to take. And so, and then, but other than that, a lot of that also is, my second biggest win came yesterday or 2 days ago, where I bet M80 to beat Aurora Gaming. Random LAN that is going on right now in between big Counter Strike tournaments. Teams are tired, they're playing bad. So again, a lot of value, but there was no way that Aurora Gaming was going to be a 5-1 favorite on M80. They're just not possible. So again, just finding good value and creating opportunities for the players to succeed is really where you are going to be able to find the best edge on Polymarket. So if you go back to my active tab, um, my active tab is a little bit more involved with golf right now, and also with placing a ton of futures bets, which is just active stuff like that. But essentially, um, I have been really, really heavily into golf. I've never golfed in my entire life. I just started golfing a week ago. Like I've only been to a course 3 times, and it's awesome because I've been a fan of golf for years. And so now that the Masters is coming up, I get to use that as my niche and as my outlet for being like excited about the Masters, right? So I'm excited about the Masters. So I'm making predictions on who is going to win the Masters. Obviously, you can see I was farming a little bit of volume with the no bet, but I can talk a little bit about that as well. But yeah, primarily my goal is just to build positions where I think I have the best value, and then also the best part about Polymarket is that Polymarket gives you the ability to participate in the conversations that you want to participate in. So for example, like I'm excited about golf, right? The Masters is next week. So I can bet on that. And then, but that might be different than somebody who is doing politics, right? Like there's people right now that are very into what's going on in the world. So they can go and they can bet on all of the political bets that are happening. And that is my favorite part about Polymarket, and why I think it is such a strong on-chain tool, is that it gives people the ability to participate in things that they're interested in. And maybe your interests change over time. Maybe I'm into golf now, and then maybe in a month I'll be way more into basketball when the NBA playoffs start, or maybe I'll be into the draft when the NFL draft happens. Well, guess what? I'm going to be able to put predictions in on those, and this is what makes me very excited, is that I get a chance to participate in all of these conversations that I'm excited about, while also finding edges where I can find them. And then one of the biggest things that people ask me is, how much volume do I need to have? How much, like, am I too late? what is going on with the poly market volume and what's going to happen. And the answer is that I don't know. I'm not on the team. Like I have as much communication as everybody else has with the official announcements. We don't know. We know that a poly token is coming. We don't know when. We don't know how it'll be distributed. But I know one thing for sure is that the more volume you have, the better. And I would say that you like there's no point in trying to force volume or trying to create volume that isn't there. Just let the volume happen naturally and just build yourself up a profile. Again, just like betting and participating in markets that you want to participate in. My biggest bet right now was I was catching a bot that would that I was catching a market making bot that kept flashing 2.5 cent win orders on, or sorry, 0.5 cent win orders on Colin winning the Valero Texas Open going on today. And Colin withdrew, but that market making bot didn't know. So I basically got 32 grand of volume on the fact that somebody was offering me the other side, and I was like, well, if they're just going to give me free money, I'm going to take it, right? And
Yeah.
this is something that a lot of people on Polymarket do. They call it bonding. They have a special word for it where they call them bonders. So basically, these are bettors that are primarily betting yes or no on 99-cent bets. They're closing 1% of value, but the bets are virtually guaranteed. Then it ends up being really funny when those bets lose, because that person loses 99% of their
Right.
position, but which I don't recommend doing. But this is a very rare, but this is the only time that I've pretty much done it. I've only done it a few other times, but again, this is just about just being active on the website and finding positions like that where you have news like, oh, this guy's not playing in this tournament. Well, then I'm going to take positions, obviously, that he's not going to win it.
Yeah, so I mean, you've mentioned some great like information arbitrage techniques like that there, and you also noted earlier with the Counter Strike tournament, like just kind of thinking about how the team is going to be tired at that point. But I wonder about like other tools. Like you recommended some tools like bullpen, I guess is one. Or do you use those kind of tools? Do you recommend anything like that?
I think that tools are going to become much more useful in the next year than they ever have been. I have tried almost every single tool in the market, but with Polymarket's reduced fees, there uh, it is hard to justify paying 1% of every trade to a lot of these platforms. And a lot of them are great. They provide good information. I actually met the bullpen team in person too. They're great guys. And Ansem, a big meme coin guy and big
Hmm.
Twitter KOL, also supports them. I've tried pretty much every tool in the market. A lot of them are trying to do two things. So there is the terminal tools. These guys are like the desktop. We have this huge desktop tool. You need to use our desktop tool to get the best information. And then there's also the Telegram bots. There's like, oh, we have a Telegram bot. This is the fastest way for you to get access, right? Honestly, I think the MetaMask app does a great job. So like, I don't really need the Telegram bots. But this is what happened was that this this happened before, and this happened before actually in crypto, in the meme coin space. This happened before in memes, because what happened was that when everybody ran to Solana to do their meme coins, people didn't really know where to trade. They were like, well, I don't have any good visuals. I don't have any good charts. Where do I trade the highest up to date information? And big time terminals came out like Photon, BullX, Axiom. These terminals made billions of dollars in fees. And people were willing to pay it. Why? Because they were buying memes. They were paying Jupiter, fees anyway. They weren't getting any charts or any information on who was involved in the coins, or token information or anything like that, because Jupiter didn't really have those kind of good charting capabilities or tools at the time. And so a lot of people ran to Photon, and then we started this big era of terminals where people started
Hmm.
using terminals to try to improve their trading. The reason why it hasn't adapted so well in Polymarket is because Polymarket has no fees. So
Mm.
why would you pay a terminal or a bot fees if you can do it on Polymarket? Well, for me personally, the only time is when like I'm using an app like MetaMask where it's convenient. The convenience, I'm willing to pay 1% a fee or whatever fee. And then actually I really like the MetaMask tool because it tells you like, hey, here's the fee, here's the slippage, here's what your position is going to be, right, when you actually take the order, which is really cool. But this is kind of like where I think we will see tools really shine in this year in Polymarket is how can we make it as convenient as possible for people to access Polymarket. And so with
Right.
MetaMask doing that, with MetaMask being on the mobile app, you could just take out your phone and make a prediction. That's really fast. You don't have to log into your wallet on the desktop, log into Polymarket, make that bet. And now that Polymarket has also introduced bonuses for makers and taker fees, I think that now we're going to see a lot of terminals and tools come together and start to shine.
And speaking of MetaMask, let's go ahead and pull that up. Our producer Jordan, I think you've got it ready to go, and then we can kind of we can get into some of the individual markets. So yeah, this is the screen you're talking about, bag calls, and from your home screen there, you can pull up prediction markets, and it takes you to the trending ones. We'll throw in the NCAA tournaments here. So let's talk a little bit about the Final Four. It's a big market. Looks like I had 23 million, but now we're up to 24 million in volume traded. Anything, I don't know, like top level, anything about this kind of main market here and how it's priced to you?
I think that at this point, when there's only 4 teams left, you've got probably, the most sharp lines that you can, right? Like you're not going to get a lot of value where there's $24 million already passed through the market. But, I think that based on what I've seen this year, I think that the winner of the Michigan Arizona game is probably going to be the champion.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
seems like kind of the smart. You got the two number one seeded teams, and then over in the other game, we've got a team in Connecticut that like wasn't really supposed to be here, but is here through. So was one of the most dramatic moments in sports of this year so far. So
I actually heard people say, well, now that Duke lost, we can actually bet on the games. So
yeah, right.
That's the best part of it, is that Duke was really feeding this year because they weren't closing spreads and they were struggling early. If you remember, even against the 16 seed, they were down by 12 at halftime. So this was one of my favorite things to do with this year was just to bet against Duke or bet against the spreads. I thought Duke were going to lose in the previous matchup, and they made it to against UConn. So betting the UConn spread was pretty easy. But when I saw that it was like 38-50 at halftime, I was like, oh, okay, we're cooked. Like this is, there's nothing we can do here. But the Michigan team is just incredibly strong. I would say that if you are looking to get an edge in this market, my favorite thing to do is to wait for the games to start. And if a team breaks out ahead, like for example, if Arizona goes up by 6 points, you can get significantly better Michigan odds. So you'll be able to get Michigan at like 20% or 22% or 25% or something like that. And so then that is, being able to bet live is an incredibly underrated feature, because if you've used books as long as I have, you damn well know that live betting closes every single possession or round. So it's very difficult to bet live. Polymarket giving you the ability to bet live whenever you want is actually overpowered. Because then you start running into the issue where it's like, okay, how fast is my feed compared to how fast Polymarket updates, right? But in general, if you are watching the lines, you might be able to get good value on a team that you think is going to win. But yeah, like if a team breaks out on a 4, 6, 8 point lead, you're going to be able to get that team. And this is the same thing for Illinois, right? For Illinois, during that game, specifically during that matchup, if UConn breaks out ahead early, you could take them late. You could take Illinois, live, maybe down 4 or 6 points. And if you don't think you can actually play it both ways as well. So you could bet the actual game, and you can also bet, for example, if Illinois go down 4 or 6 points to start against UConn, then their odds of winning the tournament will drop to like 9%. So if they win that game and Michigan, Arizona win that game, that 9% is going to go to like 25.
So you're looking for
So
people to like, oh, you're looking to wait for the crowd to kind of over-index on where the momentum is going early, and
yeah,
then
exactly.
capitalize on that overconfidence base. Because we all know like the first period is like, the first
A
period
lot
doesn't
of
tell you
a
a
lot of
whole lot
teams,
about the end.
yes, a lot of teams. If you've noticed, especially this is very apparent this year. I don't know why, but a lot of a lot of teams are first half teams. They start off well in the first half. Maybe they just because they get tired, they don't have the players with the same talent. Their bench is not that deep, but they start very strong in the first half, and then they end up getting, rattled or overwhelmed or just outcoached in the second half. And so you're going to be able to always get pretty good odds, in the case of a team falling behind or catching a little bit of loss of momentum. But in this case, yeah, I think that's probably where you find your value, and then you're able to create yourself a position that you're happy going into the final championship with. So whichever team you're going to be betting on. So there is still risk involved, obviously. Like, can UConn beat Illinois? Of course, right? Can Arizona beat Michigan? Of course, but it just comes down to where you find the value.
I think yeah, the Yukon and Illinois, that market or those resolutions are interesting to me. Like I'm a little surprised that more people aren't kind of buying into the narrative of like momentum for Yukon going into this matchup. I mean, what do you think of this game in particular?
Honestly, I think that my favorite. What's the spread in this game? I haven't even seen the
One and a
spread.
half.
I don't think it's 1.5 because the volume is super low on that.
It
Let me
looks
see.
like
What is the spread in this game? The spread in this game, yeah, it is 1.5. Wow, that is crazy. Yeah, so it is a 50-50 game. I mean, the value is definitely on Illinois there, I think. I mean, it's not a 50, I mean, it's a 55-45 game, but I think that if you're Vegas, you want this game to go UConn because a lot of people watched UConn barely win,
mhm.
and they're probably going to be my guess is that 70% of the money or 75% of the money is going to be on Illinois because they just watched UConn, like you said, basically just dogleg their way into this Final Four, and they think that the team is not capable. But we all know UConn is a premier NCAA talent, so they are capable. But at 45%, I'm not betting them.
Yeah, it's funny
They've been
because
dog legged.
so many
They
people.
eliminate.
So many people get caught up in like the Cinderella story of it all, though. But I guess sharps don't. So and the smart money doesn't. Maybe that's the
No, not
difference.
really. But it just again, like I think it just depends on, for example, like if a lot of money comes in on one side or the other side, like if it becomes a 60-40 or a 50-50 game, you're gonna see me start building positions in wherever I find the value, right? So if we have, if a lot of money comes in on UConn, then and Illinois goes to even odds, I'm gonna bet them. If a lot of money comes in Illinois and UConn falls to like a 37% or a 38% likely to win, then you have value in UConn. So you just have to you just have to kind of visualize it and pay attention. Um, I'll give you kind of an example. The average sports bettor spends about 6 to 8 hours a day looking at lines. The average polymarket person actually spends less. I think the top people spend a little bit less. They spend about 4 to 6 hours, but they're still paying attention. And the nice part about it, like I said, is that there is so much going on, right? We have sports, we have esports, right? Which, by the way, thank you, shout out Polymarket for giving us our own category. Um, we have crypto. We have all of the people betting the crypto markets, the 5-minute markets, and all that. Um, we have, politics, mention markets. We have all of these things that people are participating in. So there's definitely room, and being able to place limit orders and find positions that you're comfortable with is like one of the strongest tools, right? It's just being able to find edge, and also, yeah, placing the limit orders and being able to get even more edge on a market you like already. Super cool. Yeah, you can see, you guys can actually see in the window. By the way, my new passion, Formula One. There it is. I love Formula One. I'm a big Formula One fan right now. Huge Formula One fan.
Nice. I was going to ask you that. What other markets you're into? But
Yeah, I like Formula One a lot. Golf, like yeah, I mentioned, Formula One is like, I'm watching it and learning it, but Formula One reminds me a lot of gaming, because it is almost like a game at this point, But a lot of it is also because. Did you play any games like growing up, Eric?
yeah, it's been a while. I had to swear them off to be a functional member of society, and then like after I did that, it you could make a career out of it. So I missed the window, but yeah, dude, I'm like Quake era and like Halo era.
Hell yeah, bro.
That was me.
I took you for a Halo guy. I was gonna say you were either a Halo dude or a COD dude. I don't know. I was feeling both, but yeah. Did you ever play in like a competitive match?
No, no, just only with friends. No,
Like ranked games and stuff?
no, no.
We gotta get you on there. So
Oh yeah,
when you
you just
when
need
you
someone to frag. Yeah, cool.
right, exactly. So like when you're a gamer, right? You participate in ranked matches, right? Every day, right? We have across all the games, there's ranks, there's ladders, right? Leaderboards, stuff like that, right? You climb them. And so basically during that ranked match, you have roughly 40 minutes to an hour to perform your best. And what you do in that game will be talked about between your friends, your teammates, stuff like that. Depending on how you perform, if you have an amazing performance, people are going to talk about it. That's Formula One. They have 1 hour
Mm,
to take weeks of preparation and put it into that 1 hour. That's kind of, and then that is, and I realized, I'm like, oh my god, Formula One is just adult gaming. It's just very
nice.
expensive adult gaming, and so um, the that's it's cool because making that connection really made me interested in F1, and like how the drivers perform, what's in their mental, like what's happening in the team, like how the cars are going, but also the again, this brings me back to my point about polymarket and why prediction markets are so cool, and why I think that prediction markets are an amazing on-chain tool, because you have the ability to participate in any market that you are passionate about, in the sense of when we're talking about anything, right? I have a buddy, he loves politics, he's obsessed with politics, he follows everything with politics there is. And I said, dude, Polymarket's perfect for you. There's so many things that you can look at, so many odds, and then you can also wager. It also puts a reality check on your own opinion, right? So if you think,
Right.
let's say for example, if you think that there's going to be a U.S. Israeli ceasefire this month, you could take a look and see like, okay, the percentages aren't as high. The public doesn't think as much as I do that this is going to happen, right? I know you also wanted to cover the women's, if you wanted to take.
Yeah, let's bring it. We got to wrap up, but let's bring it back to this weekend and just kind of like walk me through how you're set up for this weekend. We got the men's games this weekend. We got the women that we haven't talked about. We got UCLA, Texas, UConn, and South Carolina, I believe. So yeah, like what are you looking at for the semifinals and then the big games next week?
So I think that UConn is going to be priced very heavily because they look spectacular, right? And so I think in that case,
As
um,
usual.
as usual, UConn just
Yeah.
looks fantastic. But these in these markets, especially with lower volume markets, you're going to be able to find value on teams. And so again, like I was saying, if you are watching college basketball, women's and men's this weekend, your best bet is that UConn falls a couple points behind. You're going to be able to get them at better odds. you're going to be able to, that 62% is going to fall to 50 or 40. Well, now you feel like you've got real edge in a very competitive team. And so this is going to be where I think is your best bet is not to bet the 62% on UConn, but to wait to watch the game and see if you could find some value there. But yeah, no question that they are rightful favorites, and you can see actually how much favorites they were. That number skidded almost up to 70% after their win. So they have been moving, and so if you're watching the game or you catch the score, if you're checking scores this weekend, you catch UConn behind 4, 6, 8 points, 10 points, you're gonna be able to hop on MetaMask real quick and bet on UConn.
Perfect. So yeah, keep your phone nearby and keep MetaMask open. I like that advice. I think that's the best advice. Any final thoughts before we let you go? Final tips or tricks or anything that we haven't covered yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say a lot of people are asking me if it's too late to get involved with Poly Market. It absolutely is not. You should definitely give it a shot. Find things you're passionate about. Participate in the markets that you want to participate in. Because having a passion is all we got, Eric. We're gonna be replaced by AI soon. Everything is gonna be everything is gonna be all AI'd up. Everything is gonna be super AI'd up now, and everything is gonna be all percentages and decisions and this is a chance for people to participate in what they're actually interested in as humans. We're gonna get a chance. You get a chance to participate and be a part of a market that you are actually involved in as your passion. So if you're passionate about anything, it could be politics, it could be sports, it could be crypto, it could be crypto launches, markets, 5-minute markets, it could be sports. You have a chance to sit down right now, just give it a shot. Give it a shot, take a look at it, see if you like it, see if you enjoy it. The bridge from people using Web3 and people being on trading crypto and poly market and prediction markets in general has not been closed enough. Like it has not been opened enough. There is so much more room for people to get involved with. Give it a shot. You will enjoy it. Find what you're enthusiastic about and make that something fun. And if you have fun with Polymarket, you will enjoy it as much as I have. And if you have any questions, whether it's you, Eric, or anybody listening, please participate and reach out to me anytime, and I will gladly help out wherever I can and try to get more people involved. I really do think that this is one of the best on-chain tools ever created. I think that giving the average person the ability to predict without having to find a book or go to Vegas or bet on somewhere. I think that is an incredibly strong asset to possess and just having. So I'm super excited for it. I think that this is going to be a great year for Polymarket. It is never too late to be involved. It's not going anywhere. So make sure to get started if you're interested. If you're a long time participant, you know what I'm talking about because we've seen it time and time again. There's a lot of opportunities and a lot of value to be had.
Hey, really appreciate it. Bag calls, and of course, bag calls on X. Follow the original and sign on to MetaMask to find all the markets we've been talking about. Watch the games, get the edge, let your open claw do everything else, and have a great time. We'll see you next time. Thanks a lot, bag calls.
Thank you so much. Take care.